Battle of the Challengers podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And David Lauer.
With the Rivals 3, episode 9?
Episode 9, yeah.
What was the title of this?
Let Sleeping Dogs Wake.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I feel like it should be Let Sleeping Dogs Lie, right?
Well, obviously that's
the euphemism, but...
Yeah. But...
What are they referencing with that?
I'm thinking about it now, and maybe it's because the fact that they were up all night, they wanted to sleep, but instead the winners and two lucky teams get to go out in the town and swim instead. So it's like, let sleeping dogs go out in the town and swim on a boat.
Or go out in the ocean.
Yeah.
And get eaten by sharks, but apparently there's no sharks there. Or at least they didn't have any encounters.
No, it's a good old time and whatever, but again, I don't really care for it. I mean, we're jumping ahead so much, but this is another padded episode.
Well, yeah, because the last episode was cut down where we only saw half of the mission, but it kind of made sense because the mission, it was an insane mission where they're up all night. Like, I've never really seen a mission like this.
No.
Where it was that long in time, and they saw, there's 8 different events occurring, and we went over those in the last episode, and now they get to the end of it where it's the puzzle, and then they have to try and figure out what they remembered after going a whole night with no sleep.
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't really pay off too much. Like, when you turn on this episode, it's just a bunch of people starting a puzzle. And they're like, what do you remember? I don't know. I don't remember anything. You know what I mean? So there's been a week for us as viewers has passed. And we're like, well, does any of it pay off? You know what I mean? Like, what we're looking at is a bunch of sleepy challengers.
Yeah. They showed like a little bit of a montage of all the different like crazy people and the donkey and the guy on the motorcycle and the luchadors with the chainsaws and the guy on fire and all that goofy stuff. But it would have worked a hell of a lot better if you would have ran those episodes concurrently so you could actually keep in mind what's going on. And that's what kind of sucks about a lot of the episodes this season where they don't have a mission and an elimination in that same episode. They always seem to be splitting stuff up.
Mm-hmm. And like we were saying before, like this season of anything, if the challenge were to ever try and really go for those views, put it on Netflix. Because that is where you binge watch shit. And if there was ever a season to do that, it was this. Because things don't really it's not a very good week-to-week show at all. This is better as a binge watch.
Every hour is completely random as to what you're getting. So sometimes that hour you're getting good stuff, but it's not like a conclusive episode where you have like a finish where you're like, oh, I'm satisfied in that finish. A lot of times it's just cliffhanger, cliffhanger, cliffhanger.
Yeah. So this is just the same. There's a puzzle, and we're watching people trying to figure out this puzzle, even though if we're just tuning in right now, we don't understand. They're talking about things we did not see this episode, besides a little montage in the beginning. So what we're left to is, I'm just going to name off the teams that won chronologically.
What?
I guess.
Really? That's kind of skipping ahead.
Yeah?
But, I mean...
No, I mean like how they finished,
Yeah, but there was, we can talk about the puzzle a little bit, about like what they had to do. So, like it was 10 a.m. or whatever when TJ finally showed up, like, because they saw all that crazy stuff go on.
That wasn't part of the episode, though, right?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
but I'm recapping.
Okay,
Am I not allowed to?
Okay. No, yeah.
All that crazy stuff, that ended at like 6 in the morning or something like that. And then from 6 in the morning till like 10:30, they just stood there on the boxes, not getting sleep, and just waiting and waiting for TJ to finally roll out of bed, his king-size bed in whatever suite he's staying in. He have a little morning sex with some Mexican hoes.
Yeah. He's like, wake and bake, bang up, Latino.
Yeah, have some Taco Bell breakfast or whatever they do in Mexico.
He ate some tacos, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then, like, at 10:30 or whatever, he shows up, and then they start the puzzle or the mind game or whatever they want to call it. And it was basically, there's like a pole there, and they're kind of shielded from the other players, so they can't really see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And then they have the 8 events that occurred over the night, like those random things that were happening. And then there's also 8 questions about those events. And they were all, like, you could spin those, like, they were like hexagons or octagons. There's, I don't know how many sides were on it, really. I think they might have been...
Hexagon.
That's I think there were 6 sides to it. But it was like, what is the number on the motorcycle? Is it 93, 82, 95? Like, what was the color of the donkey's blanket? Green, red, blue. What was the guy's shoes? Were they, whatever color? And, like... And then they just basically show a little montage of them all trying to put together the puzzle. Dario's like, I don't know anything. I might as well not even been there. Like, Dario, they're like, you just couldn't do anything.
Well, him and Nicole, they were the team that were like, hey, this is all going to distract us. I say we look away. And they both legit turned away. Last episode, mind you. And again, this is the problem with this episode. Like, you need to have the whole entire thing flow together. But go on.
Other than that, like, basically we'll just get to the winners. Like, Bananas and Sarah, they just immediately, they get first.
Yeah, first place. And obviously Wes is like, God damn it. Obviously I'm going in, whether I win or lose.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
in
like,
their mind. Because they're smart.
They're going to make my life a living hell for the next 36 hours.
36 hours. That was awesome.
And
I was like, is that fourth wall? Like, what does it mean, 36 hours? That's great. Yeah, I guess so. 36 hours until deliberation or elimination?
Probably.
Elimination?
The next... he has 12 hours from that point, which is like 10 at night. And the next 24 hours, which would be that next day with the elimination.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel about this? These two?
Bananas and Sarah are a good team. Like, obviously, they seem like the best team there. Like, Bananas, he's probably the best challenger of all time. Sarah... She's probably one of the best female competitors of all time, other than, like, Laurel, Cara Maria,
right?
A few other top ones.
Yeah.
Like, she's the best female on this season. I think that's safe to say. At least as, like, a competitor.
That might be.
Like,
I mean,
she might not physically be, like, the fastest or strongest or have the best cardio, but, like, mind-wise, she's super smart, and she figures out a way to win.
Yeah, and she knows she's part of the system now. She's a veteran and whatever. She knows how to play the camera, I guess. And, yeah, I mean, this is a solid team. So they win. As Wes said it, he's like, blah, blah, blah. Of course they would have or whatever. I don't know what he said necessarily. But they do win, and now we're just waiting to see who gets last, right?
Basically, yeah, because they won, Bananas and Sarah, they're going to pick 2 teams to go against whoever gets last.
Yep.
So next is Kellyanne and Jamie. They get second place.
Solid team. I'm rooting for them.
They've been good all year.
Yeah, and they get second place. Not so much to say about that. But Wes and Nani, they're just like, hey, call it. TJ, come and check this out. They think they're done. They're wrong. They're wrong by about 5 answers, 4 answers, like something like that.
4 or 5 out of the 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah, a little premature. Maybe they're freaked out because their worst enemy has just won, so they want to call it early. But no, they're wrong. So next to call it is Christina and Nate, which
I was surprised by because they were playing paper rock scissors last episode, completely oblivious to everything that was going on. Somehow they ended up getting third.
That's a good fucking point. But you know what, though? Overall, though, I feel like Nate and Christina, for some reason, we want to look past the small in the new for some reason.
They're arguably the one, plus they're not physically imposing. They're both very, Nate's probably the smallest guy, and Christina's the smallest girl, along with, Nicole. They're both tiny. They're not intimidating at all.
Yeah.
But they do well. They constantly have, performed decent.
Mm-hmm. And now they're in third place. That's great. Next is Jenna and Vince. Again, I think before this episode even, while we were watching this episode, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't really matter where everyone, it's interesting where they take place in the finish line because all these teams are really good. I think that's what I said, basically.
Yeah, right? There's no weak teams. They're all pretty good. And all of these, there's Bananas and Sarah's first. And then after that, they're all solid teams. And it's the place that they landed in. It's, I think, because what they're doing is kind of just spinning the answers, see if they're correct. And then they just yell, check, 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 see if they're right. And then they spin one. Okay, check. And then, okay, yeah, you're right. So I feel like a lot of those teams in the middle there, they were all probably pretty close.
Yeah, they're all solid teams. I mean, and then I got to Devin and Cheyenne. They finish after Jenna and Vince, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They're still here. And I felt like they weren't very deserving. A, because they were eliminated before, and now they're back for no reason. They didn't win an Exile game or anything like that. And, yeah, and they're not even interesting to me as personalities, so whatever.
I like Devin.
Yeah.
Cheyenne, she's a likable person, but not...
Yeah.
There's nothing like exceptional about her that I'm like a huge fan.
I don't want to call her a cock tease. Because,
But Corey's dick would disagree.
But to her, I'm wondering if she's like, you know what, my personality, my storyline is not just turning down Corey. I'm more than that. But we have not seen any of that.
That's all she... Well, I mean, she had like a little bit of feuding going on.
With it?
Didn't her and Cheyenne kind of... Or Cheyenne and Simone kind of bark at each other in one episode?
I don't think so. I don't recall any of that.
Wasn't that like in the second episode or something where they were talking about like, oh, you're just trying to get camera time? Or maybe that was Ashley and not Cheyenne. I could be mixing them up.
But either way,
yeah, she's not really offered much.
They somehow make it into the roster, and it's good. Good for them. Next is Ashley and Corey. We both love this team, but they have a hard time cooperating. Corey says he's like, you know what? I'm overtired, and I'm no fun when I'm tired and shit. And I'm like, Corey, you're always fun, man. You're great. We love you and shit because of your personality. But he's saying, like, listen, man, if I'm not sleeping, and if you're TMZ and you come up to me, I'm going to fucking punch you. And I'd be like, what, TMZ? I don't think you're that famous for TMZ. But that's all me. Just making up this entire conversation. But anyways, Ashley and Corey, they get, 6th place?
Yeah,
right?
And remember how I said before that the teams were kind of spinning the answers and then asking for checks? Corey and Ashley, they were actually the first team where we start to really see that, where they showed them exclusively, like, okay, let's try this, try this. Because every team is trying to not get last place. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like the first team to really get a handle on that. Because, yeah, like you were saying, Ashley and Corey just bickering the whole time. Ashley's like, I will kill him on national television. Like, I don't care. Like, don't disagree with me.
Yeah, because what's not included, again, is the fact that they've been up all night. Now, honestly, when I started watching this video, it's been over a week, more than a week, since I've seen the previous episode. And, if you're a hardcore fan of Battle of the Challengers podcast, you might recognize that these episodes have been extremely late lately. And it's no fault of mine, no fault of Dave. Kind of fault of Dave.
How is this my fault?
No, I'm just saying.
If anything, it's your fault.
Okay.
I don't get into the details, but I'm placing the blame on you.
Hold on, let's explain this. I've been in a place where there's been no internet for about a month and a half.
Yeah, you've had a roommate situation where your roommate dropped out and was moving out, and because of that you had to move somewhere else, and because of that there was no reason to get internet set up there if you're moving somewhere else.
Right. And the only reason why Dave might have some fault in this is because if you are an even more hardcore fan, you'll know that Dave is still late. When I do have internet, he was like, we're going to record on Saturday. And I'm like, okay, are we going to record on Saturday? And he's like, let's record Sunday night. I'm like, okay, Sunday night. Let's record Monday night. But
I have had to work the last 5 days or had school in the last 5 days. Today is my first day off in forever.
Exactly. So in truth, I mean,
I wanted to do it yesterday. Somebody had to work. It was you. Because when I don't work, you're working.
So who do we blame? We blame higher education. No, higher education. Because Dave, he's an ambitious motherfucker, and he's like, hey, man, school happens at a certain time. And I'm like, fuck school.
You're all like Tony, like, party all day, all night.
Yeah, woo. But, what are we getting at?
I don't know. We're just basically rambling about why our podcast was late. And And we're upset because we had to watch these 2 episodes.
And we're losing viewers every time we're late.
I mean, it's inevitable. But you know what? I'm not doing it for the viewers. I'm doing it for myself. I'm selfish like that. I'm like Bananas. Because like Bananas, I don't feel like he's doing it for his fans anymore. He's just doing it to appease his own ego and trying to make himself feel important and happy.
Well, he says himself, when he's on that trip, he says, I'm looking for that elusive 6th win. And if
Jordan did it. Kobe did it. Can Bananas do it?
They got 6 wins?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But in terms of the challenge, no one ever have. But Bananas is saying, like, if I lose this season, it's going to be devastating. And I'm like, devastating like how? Like when Sarah betrayed you? Like how do we measure exactly in way how you feel about these challenges? We already know that this is your life. So anytime Bananas complains, it's because like, yeah, he's put his life into this show. It's not the same as when Wes gets eliminated. You know what I mean? Like Wes has a fucking business back home and shit. This is his life for Bananas. You know? So I don't take any fucking merit in terms of like, oh my god, I've won 5 seasons, I want to win the 6th one. I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's like listening to the 1% saying like, oh my god, my limousine fell in 2 pieces. You know what I mean? Like,
but like, how old is Bananas? Is he 34, 35?
That's tough. Yeah, he's in his early 30s for sure though. I know that. Yeah.
At least early 30s. I think he's in his mid 30s.
Okay.
But I guess my point is that Bananas, he wants to get that elusive 6th victory because he's borderline has-been already. And if he doesn't keep up winning, then he's officially a has-been. Like, if he's just going to keep coming back and losing and, oh, he's not good enough to win. Like, and he's already had, like, the greatest political game. Like, we saw it on Battle of the Exes 2 when he came back and everyone in the house completely adored him again and started voting with him. Like, he controls this game politically every season. So all he had, and so he like barely ever has to go into elimination. Barely ever.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of it's just because he doesn't get voted in. Well, then some of it's because he wins a lot.
Yeah.
But for him to win a final, he really needs to do well. And he's scared that if he doesn't for another year in a row, because he failed on Bloodlines, he lost to Jamie and Cara Maria. Him and Vince did. Yeah. And if he loses this season, again, it's going to look bad again, and he's going to feel like, oh shit, I'm not living up to my billing of like coming back, because this is his life. He has to win. There's no other option in his mind. I
mean, yeah, of course. That's self-proclaimed. He himself has built this entire thing in his own mind where it's like, I have to win. That's my whole gimmick. I win every season, right? Yeah. And if I'm not winning this season, it's up to someone to take me out. It's up to someone to vote me in or whatever. So, let's get to the actual episode already.
Okay. But yeah, Dario and Nicole get 7th. Wes and Nany, they ended up last.
It was down to those 2, and I'm like, come on, Wes and Nany. Fucking get it, but they did not. Wes and Nany come in last compared to Dario and Nicole, who in the previous episode, they legit were like, hey, all this shit, all these random things that are happening in front of us are all distractions. Let's look away. Yep. They came in last to those 2.
Well, because it seemed like at the end they were just spinning the blocks and randomly, because they didn't know. If you didn't know 4 of the answers, you just randomly spin the blocks until you get it right.
Yeah, that's true. So in the end, Wes and Nany, they get in last place. They're automatically in the jungle. And what's worse is that Bananas and Sarah, they're first overall, and Wes and Nany, Bananas and Wes, had he not gotten last, he would have gotten in anyways. So, is this better overall? I have no idea. So Bananas and Sarah, they get, not only do they win, but if you remember from the previous episode, he's like, hey, you get $1,000, so $500 each. Cool, right?
Yeah, they haven't done that in, I don't remember, at least a few seasons.
Every rival season every winner has gotten money. You know, it's almost like, hey, if you're miserable with your partner, hey, you're getting money. And they haven't done this season.
There's no teams left that dislike each other anymore. Because once they kicked out Camilla and Tony last episode, that was the only team that was actually rivals. So now they're all just basically friends, which is weird. I still hate the fact that they got rid of Camilla and Tony because they did exactly what the producers wanted them to do. They drank a lot of booze, they started a lot of drama, and they didn't get physical. They just got in verbal arguments and would get right in each other's faces and yell. And that's exactly what they wanted to do, and then they boot them out for it.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, this is great. This is going to be a great trailer. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, they're like, oh, wait, you're an alcoholic? We're going to keep feeding you booze. But you know what? They didn't cross the line. They still get kicked out. And now we're left, it's rivals, but we're left with a bunch of teams that are actually kind of friends, and they all get along, which kind of makes sense because, hey, to do good in a season, you have to work together. But you can still be rivals, hate each other, and still perform in missions. Which is what Tony and Camilla did, because they're both great competitors. They hated each other, but they go out and they do well.
Yeah. So, if you're tuning in this episode, you're just like, okay, so these people, it's called Rivals 3, and it's guy and girl, so apparently they did not agree with each other at one point, but that is not played out. Specifically in this episode. Well, I guess Bananas and Sarah will kind of regurgitate their whole, oh my god, I'm so glad that we're winning with each other, and,
Yeah, and they did the power couple dinner. We can basically just get to that, Well, Bananas and Sarah, they choose the two teams that they're going to go on this day trip out on the boat with. Yeah, who and they choose Vince and Jenna because, they're related.
Vince and Bananas are related.
And then Corey and Ashley because Ashley is going to look good in a bikini. Right?
Yeah, we'll
that's why I would have picked her.
Dive deeper into that. It's not as simple as all that. And then we're given this nice little scene where they go home and everyone just passes out in their bed. This would be okay if we even, if the first episode before this, in this episode, we're together. Now people are just kind of sleeping, and it's like a sequence about a minute long, eating up episode time just to show that they're
it was a lot of filler because they basically took one episode, stretched it out into two, and this episode that we just watched, it was filled with a lot of just stuff to eat up time.
I agree. And it doesn't really pay off. If I'm watching this episode for the very first time, people are just passing out and sleeping, and I'm like, what does this mean?
They were up all night, and
if I'm if this is the very first episode I ever watched, I'd be like, it started off in the early morning with a bunch of people having to do a puzzle to something that I never watched, and now they have to go to sleep, and there's a minute long montage of people just crashing into bed. I'm like, this is unnecessary. This is definitely eating up the entire fucking episode. This is pointless.
Well, it's not even that scene. You get to the power couple scene. It's Bananas and Sarah talking about how they mended their friendship. This is the fourth time I think we've seen this season.
This
again, it's just more of the same. They used to hate each other and now they're friends.
Yeah, and what is it? Does it consist of? Bananas saying he's basically just trying to win over his teammate, which I guess we should mention. He's just honestly, I've never had a team before where I had to, I was really worried about how I would prove against that other person or whatever. And Sarah comes back with ditto, basically. Because she's like, yeah, me too, And I'm just fast forward. If this was a TiVo thing, I would just fucking fast forward through it.
Yeah, and they kind of just say, oh yeah, we really click together as a team. Bananas is my weakness is puzzles, because last season he got sent home from a puzzle. Sarah's strength is puzzles, which she's had mixed results with puzzles if you look at her past. But her brain is her strength in the game. So they're both great competitors, and they're the best team there. So they're just wow, this is awesome. I get to be partners with we get to be the best team because the producers put us together.
Right, and so they're talking to each other back and forth or whatever, and I'm just like, this is boring, but at least they get to have the awesome scene of inviting people to their table and saying you're not going in, or why shouldn't you go in? No, none of
Yeah,
that
they
shit
don't
happens.
do that, and they should have.
None of it happens. So that's why I was particularly bored with this fucking scene.
Yeah.
So it cuts later on to what? Actually out on the town, right? To go boating or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't even mention anything about this like in my notes, but one thing I think I do want to mention is that Bananas and Sarah is legit the best team this season. They have, like, you know, if you look at their past on the show, they've done amazing in the past.
I would agree.
And obviously it's shown this year. They've gotten first place in missions. This is like the third time, I feel like, at least. Probably third.
Second.
Second?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. And this is probably the best guy-girl team. Is this the best guy-girl team since Kenny and Laurel in Fresh Meat 2?
Oh shit! Nice pull. It might be it might be Kenny and Laurel, Coral and Evan. They might have been an even better team.
Coral and from Fresh Meat 1?
Coral and Evan from Fresh Meat 1. They dominated the entire season until they were taken
They had
out by
sports
what?
hernia.
By who? By medical.
Yeah, he had that hernia.
Yeah. Well, Coral also broke her knee or whatever that same season. That's why they were both taken out.
Oh, I don't even remember that. Yeah, because Evan was struggling through an injury for like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yep. Even with an injury, he fucking kept on winning and shit. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's
That was
fucking
a good
amazing.
team.
So this all-powerful team, TJ's like, hey man, you get to go out on the town and, you know, take 2 teams of your choice or whatever. So Jenna and Vince, obviously Vince and Bananas are fucking cousins, and politically Jenna has nothing to say. But politically, Bananas and Vince are like, you know what? Corey and Ashley are here. What we really want to do is fucking get revenge on Corey. Because Corey is the one that sent the 2 of us into elimination on Battle of the Bloodlines.
Yeah, and that was really interesting. I didn't think of it like that because the way they were playing it was, hey, Corey and Ashley, you should come on this trip with us because you're a really strong team.
Which they
We
are.
want you to be in our alliance.
Yep.
And that's the way they're playing it towards them, but secretly they're like, we're going to use you and then we're going to, you know, sell you out. That's his whole plan.
And
Which is typical Bananas. Like he's done it with Nani in the past, where he uses her and then fucking chucks her under the bus.
But even when Vince and Bananas were talking about Corey, they were just like, when they chose Corey and Ashley, they were a strong team. We want to, you know, the next time they win, they want them to vote for, you know, save them or whatever. But no, the real reason is because they don't like Corey at all. They hate him. They want to get the revenge. He even says, we want to eventually slit his throat. That's crazy, man. That's fucking crazy.
It's typical Bananas. Like, he's such a backstabber. And that's why I don't understand Bananas fans. And, like, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, we don't really like Bananas. And he does this every year where he just wants to backstab people. But then, the second, like, Sarah does it strategically to him in Battle of the Axis, too, like, oh my gosh, like, Bananas was so freaking, it's like, dude, you've made your whole career on doing this. Like, you invented this. And now he's back to it. Like, Bananas is allowed to do it himself, but if someone does it to him, then Sarah's wrong. And now, like, Bananas has Sarah just, like, eating out of his palm, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, I cheated you out of a win so I could steal a victory from you.
That's right. She said that this episode again, and we discussed it. I don't know if it was on a podcast, but we both felt that she just kind of bitched out. We both, at least I felt, that, like, Bananas has the upper hand over Sarah because now Sarah feels guilty for her win, which is not right.
Because it was a smart strategic move in order to win that season, and that's what the challenge is about. Doing something strategic, playing a political game, throwing in the best teams into the elimination to get rid of them, so that way they're not in the final. That's the whole way you win a season. Bananas is just, like, he's able to manipulate everyone, and, like, Sarah is just like, oh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Even his own teammate, he's manipulating. I mean, this is why I mentioned, like, we need DJ Matty Nice again, because he would point out, like, no, that's amazing. Had Wes been doing the same thing, Vince would have been singing his praise. You know what I mean? And I'm like, shit, you're probably right. You're right.
No, I don't think Matt would have said that.
Yeah.
Maybe it
well, that's the thing. He always comes. He brings something where I'm like, oh shit, I never would have thought about that.
But whatever Matt says, I have the perfect comeback. And I'm just gonna say, yeah, but still.
But still,
Banana sucks.
Well, technically he doesn't. Technically, I mean, you even said like he's probably the best
because he's the ultimate. Like he's awesome in elimination. We don't even really see him in eliminations that much. But he's awesome in missions and he's awesome in finals. Yeah. And then he's great at the manipulation part. He gets everyone to do as he wants.
So next is the all-important swimming montage, which eats away a good 3.5 minutes of the episode, right?
Yeah, but we did get some nice shots of Ashley's ass and Jenna's ass.
Oh my god, yes.
They were really hot, and I appreciated that. But at the same time, this entire sequence is completely pointless. Really, this whole entire day trip with Bananas and Vince and Jenna and Ashley and Corey.
They're on a boat.
Ultimately pointless. Yeah, they're just out there enjoying this fun in the sun, and it was like they are like Vince and Bananas or Sarah and Bananas already had like that pizza dinner earlier in the season.
Yep.
I don't even remember who was there. I feel like Corey and Ashley was there, and then some other team.
No, not Corey and Ashley, but I think it was
Devin and Cheyenne, maybe
the two new guys, Nelson and Amanda. They were there, and then some other. Oh shit, that's a good question.
But was it Nate and Christina or Devin and Cheyenne or something like that?
Oh shit, wasn't Nate and Christina?
Maybe it was
Devin and Cheyenne, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
But we've seen like stuff like this where Bananas wins a mission and then they just like, hey, you're gonna have more screen time because we need to shove you down everyone's throat.
Okay.
This entire episode is just gonna be us bashing on Bananas. I feel like.
But we're gonna be treated to a montage. Before all that, I mean, they are clinking glasses and shit, and Johnny Bananas, of course, has to drive the conversation. Like, here's to a great conversation, and I'm sure Wes is trying to figure out what we're talking about right now. And to me, I shook my head. I was just like, Bananas is obsessed with Wes. He mentions Wes every fucking episode, and no one prods it out of him. No one was just like, hey, how do you feel about Wes? No, he brings up Wes in every conversation, and it's kind of disturbing how obsessed he is.
I mean, in a season called Rivals, like, Banana's true rival is Wes. They've always been the biggest rivals over the last 10 plus years.
It's good, true. Yeah, that's true.
And, like, it's all that occupies Banana's mind. So, I mean, it makes sense because Wes is, like, the true threat. He's the one person who is on Banana's level.
Even though Wes and Nani are currently in last place.
Yeah.
Whatever. Alright, so now we're given a swimming montage, which is, of course, kind of boring. It's saved just by Jenna's ass. That's about it. Yeah. But back at the house, where everyone that didn't get to go, they're all starting to finally fucking talk. They're all starting to be like, wait a minute. Hold on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Bananas isn't around, Vince isn't around to tattle to Bananas.
Oh,
so
shit, good point.
Basically, this is like Wes and Jamie and Christina and Nate and Kellyanne and Dario. They're all sitting around and they start talking. They're like, hey, like if we want to make it in this game, we need to get rid of Bananas. We need to get rid of Vince.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need to do to make it in this game. And it was like, well, yeah, no shit. Like, why have you guys not been talking about this later or sooner?
That should be episode 1 talk.
Yeah, dude. And they even mentioned it. Like, we should have started this sooner.
Yeah. I mean, that was Rivals 2, episode 1, where CT was like, let's just fucking put Bananas and Frank in. Remember that? Everyone, all the dudes were ready to fucking vote him in, and then the twist comes in, and it's just only women get to decide the men versus men or whatever. It was very weird. But yeah, like that was, it just sucks that now in episode 9, where everyone's like, wait a minute, Bananas might be a fucking threat, you know?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So basically, we have the teams of Devin and Cheyenne, Kellyanne and Jamie, Wes and Nani, and Dario and Nicole. There's 4 teams.
Right.
And Nate and Christina, they seem on board as well. They're like, yeah, we need to get rid of Bananas. We need to get rid of Vince.
Yep.
So this is awesome. And, well, this is something that I read about after I watched this episode. Wes put on Twitter, well, like, Wes and Nany, they got last place in the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Wes says on Twitter he tanked it on purpose. He wanted last place. Because Bananas, he has to pick 2 people to send in to the jungle. And Wes wanted to be, I want to get last place. That way, he's like, I know I'm going to go in anyways, so I want Bananas to choose another enemy. I want him to make someone else mad at me.
Dude.
He's like, they're going to send in Devin and Cheyenne probably, because they got sent in last time. That's a given. He's like, I want them to anger somebody else.
Holy shit. Really?
So Wes is claiming that well, and it kind of makes sense if you think about it. During that mission, when they're answering all the questions, Wes is making jokes about like, oh, can I phone a friend? Oh, I don't remember any of this stuff.
Oh,
it did seem like he was phoning it in.
Dude,
he knew once he didn't get first place, he's like, well, if I don't have first place, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get last place. That way, once Bananas gets first, he's going to have to pick 2 teams and he'll piss somebody else off. That way it'll help his alliance. And Wes is also banking on the fact that he knows whoever he has to go against, like he said previously to Nany, they're a bunch of scrubs. He's like, I can beat them. Like, he thinks he can take on, you know, Nate and Christina, Dario, Nicole, Kellyanne, Jamie. Like, those teams, he's not afraid of them. He's like, we'll take them on.
Dude, that's awesome. That does change it up a little bit. And you know what? I'm not I'm not going to sit here and say like, "Oh yeah, well that's easy to say after the fact and say that you did throw it," because Bananas and Camilla said the same thing on Battle of the Exes 1, where when they lost the final heat, they're just like, "Oh, were we convincing enough or whatever?" And I'm like, "What? That is fucking that is bullshit." But if it's true for Bananas, it could be true for Wes. And yeah, if he fucking threw it, that does actually make sense, because right away you already know Bananas and Sarah have won. That's brilliant to me. So that's cool.
It's somewhat brilliant, but you don't want to get last place.
It is risky.
Because
it's a risky move.
You'd rather get voted in, because then you get to draw the skulls and it's 50-50 chance. But so there's that, the 50-50 chance, versus automatically going in and then having Bananas have to make another enemy by voting someone other team in. So it's risk versus reward, but Wes, I like the fact that Wes is betting on himself. Like, right. And I love that confidence.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean,
Bananas would never do that. He'd never put himself at risk like that.
I wish that was part of the episode, but yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different dimension. That's the 4th wall that we won't be able to see. So now, where are we at? Nominations?
Basically, we get to nominations, yeah.
So now Wes and Nany automatically going in. Now Bananas and Sarah, they have to vote. And what was their explanations exactly? I think Devin and Cheyenne were just kind of thrown away, right? Or
yeah, he kind of just said, like, first we're going to put in Devin and Cheyenne. He's like, second, we're going to play the odds or something. And then TJ was like, what do you mean the odds? And
yeah, TJ's like, what do you mean the odds?
No, Bananas had some explanation that didn't even really make sense to me.
He said that Jamie and Kellyanne, they keep on getting last. How are they going to help us? You know, like, we want to make friends. We don't want to send the people in that are going to win, that are going to eventually scratch our backs in return. So when they're voting Jamie and Kellyanne is like, well, yeah, we got second place a couple of times. So what you just said, Bananas, doesn't make any fucking
Exactly.
sense.
They just got second place. The one before, when they were on the little cart that they had to push and grab the flags, like, they got DQ'd on that one and they sucked in that one. But previously to that, Jamie and Kellyanne have been a really strong team. And it really does seem like he's just trying to get revenge on Jamie, because Jamie is the one who sent him home last year.
Yeah,
and
right.
like you said, he wants to get revenge on Corey, because Corey sent him into that elimination and voted him in. Well, I think Bananas is just trying to go back and trying to get revenge on everyone who has wronged him in the past.
Yeah. All right. So what? Elimination? We're ready for elimination.
So Bananas and Sarah, they're picking Devin and Cheyenne and Jamie and Kellyanne. One of those 2 teams will go against Wes. Now, if Bananas wants to get rid of Wes and send Wes home, I don't feel like he's doing it the smartest way.
Not with Devin.
Yeah, Devin and Cheyenne, like Jamie and Kellyanne, I think that's a decent team that could send Wes and Nany home. But, like, shouldn't he be sending in Dario and Nicole? Isn't that a lot stronger team that could actually send them home?
Actually, I just realized that, remember when Bananas and Sarah won last time, and Devin went up there and he's like, let me make the mother load of all alliances or whatever?
Oh, yeah,
like,
he made the deal of all deals.
Remember that?
Yeah, he
Clearly that didn't take.
Yeah, like Devin sees through Bananas' bullshit, and he's just like, you know what? Fine, I made that deal to save myself, and now I'm gonna screw him over.
And remember, like, that was the whole thing. Like, it kind of makes sense now. If he's gonna put anyone against Wes, why not put up his own alliance, which is Devin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes more sense to me now. Because at first I was like, Devin doesn't give a shit about Wes, because eventually they have a scene together or whatever. Yeah.
But it is weird because Devin and Cheyenne, they are kind of sworn their allegiance to Bananas and Sarah, and then Bananas and Sarah's just like, another one, just I'll throw you in, I don't care. Like, yeah, you were supposed to be my partner, but I don't care. But like, because I think the whole point with that is why they made that alliance is because Bananas knew that Devin and Wes were kind of getting close because they share a room together.
Right.
But then by this point, Bananas knew that he was already in Wes's camp, and all that talk was just basically BS to keep him out of the elimination. So Wes knew that Devin was not ever going to help him.
Alright, so let's get to the actual elimination itself. It's called Hear Me Out. Wait a minute. Do we have to do the skull thing before that? Yeah, I suppose we have to.
Yeah, I suppose we can mention it. Doesn't really matter.
I don't remember exactly. Devin goes first. White Skull.
And then Jamie goes White Skull.
Then Cheyenne White Skull, right?
Yep. And then
so Kellyanne has no choice but to go in. But yeah, Hear Me Out. Blindfolded soccer, basically.
Is that Hear Me Out? Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that name.
So
I couldn't remember the name of it. I was like, it's just like blindfolded soccer.
Blindfolded
or
soccer.
Football.
Yeah, exactly. Football. And you're blindfolded. You have to try and get the ball into your. Yeah, you're just blindfolded.
Your partner has to like yell at directions.
Use your eyes or whatever. And so we're going into this, and Wes is with Nany. He's like, "Yeah, I've played soccer my whole life. I'm not gonna rifle off all the accolades that I have,
But I'm well above average."
Yeah. And one of the accolades you could throw in there, I don't know, FIFA? That's the video game version of soccer.
Yeah, well, it's a federal, federation of...
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
But what
he
could put down is that he fucking won $150,000 when he won the dual office soccer thing.
So, he did. He beat Brad in soccer.
Yeah.
And that was in Mexico as well, wasn't it?
Brazil.
Oh, that was in Brazil. Okay. Yeah. And
so,
this is Mexico. This is where soccer is also very popular.
Yeah, it's great. It's
and honestly, the World Cup is going on right now. So, really? Soccer is very relevant. Yeah, the World Cup is every, 4 years, like the Olympics.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Actually. All right, so...
So, first, it's girls' heat. And then second is going to be the guys. And then after that, if they need to have a third round, then it'll be a coin flip.
Yeah.
So first is Kellyanne versus Nany. And they're going at it, and they're trying to, and it's very awkward because they can't see. They're trying to kick this ball around. And after a little bit, you can tell they start to get frustrated. We see, the ball is, rolling around, and it's, kind of flat already. And TJ said, they put, beads in it so you could hear it.
Yeah.
But the ball isn't even round, it won't even roll. It's just this lump that no air in it, and it was come on.
It's not
guys.
Regulation.
It's not a real ball. Come on, it completely lost its air.
I kind of like the fact that Nany pushes Kellyanne. I like that. It's a little dirty. It's dirty soccer. That would have gave her a yellow or a red flag in actual football.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that. That's not the spirit of the game. And both of the girls, they did seem to get frustrated with their partners and the directions they were getting.
Yep.
And they would just end up standing there and just throwing their hands in the air, getting upset, and they just didn't play well.
Kellyanne actually runs into the wall. Like, it's kind of high enough to hit her in the face, I think. She just
I thought it hit her in the chest.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, either way, she just ran right smack dab into the wall. And she's like, what the fuck, Jamie? Yeah. They didn't have the best relationship in this episode. Kellyanne definitely was kind of fucking yelling at Jamie.
But Nani ends up kicking it in.
Yep.
She scores a point.
Yeah. Awesome. So now it's the guys' turn. Wes versus Jamie. And all I have written for this is that Jamie basically muscled Wes. He kept on shoving him and like pushing him back. Wes just kept his hands up like, hey, I'm not doing anything. And he's just getting shoved.
Well, yeah, it was weird. It's like Jamie wasn't even playing. Wes is trying to kick the ball and play soccer because soccer is with your feet. You can't push into other guys. That's not what soccer is.
Jamie wanted to play rugby. Isn't that where you actually like shove each other? And
shit?
It
was like that's against the rules of soccer. And Wes is throwing his hands up like you're not allowed to use your hands to push somebody.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I guess Wes realized like, oh, they're not really playing soccer. Like you can just push and maul the other person all you want, which is bogus because they didn't really mention that at all. So Wes is just getting manhandled. He's throwing his hands up like, hey, I'm not cheating. Why aren't you doing anything about this guy who's cheating? He's just pushing me around. And Jamie, he ends up kicking it in and getting the goal because Wes is like, hey, he's just pushing me the entire time.
And watching this blindfolded, like, it is quite amazing. You know what I mean? Like, because they'll be so close and they won't even know it. You know what I mean? All you have to do is kick it right into the net and you're fucking won. But the thing is that even though you're right at the net and you have to listen to your partner, you still can't hear them. You're hearing the peanut gallery. You're hearing everyone else. Exactly. Which I felt that it should have been more of a fresh meat style elimination. You know, just like how when you do a puzzle in front of everyone, that's not right. Because you could help with a puzzle. You could be like, no, turn that piece over there and then you'll be fine. You know what I mean? And the same thing goes for this thing. I felt like they should have been away from everyone else where they could only listen to their partner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have been nice because Wes says right afterwards, he's like, Nani, I did not hear one single direction the entire time.
Yep.
He's like, I did not hear a thing. Like, how was that possible? Like, come on, Nani. Yell louder. Like, and plus, like, if other people are yelling too, she needs to tell them to shut the hell up.
Alright, so anyways, Jamie does score on Wes. So now it's even. It's fucking split right now.
So the coin toss to see if it's going to be guys or girls for the last one. And it ends up being a guys.
Yeah. So
it's Wes and Jamie part 2. And Wes, like, he seems to, like, he figures out, like, his weakness from the last one. He's like, okay, yeah. If he's allowed to push me or whatever, he's like, I'm just going to do it back. And it never really got super physical or anything, but, like, Wes in the first one, he was tentative. Like, he was waiting for a referee to be like, hey, You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Because you remember, like, what was it, Duel 2, when it was Brad versus Landon? And they were like, hey, you have to go for the hook. You can't just wrestle a guy. It was like Wes was thinking, hey, you have to go for the ball on the goal. You can't just wrestle a guy.
Right. Yeah. He was waiting for that whistle that were never to be blown.
Yep.
So eventually, in this fucking third round, he does, with his soccer skills, steal it away. Yep. He gets it so far, and then he misses it, and then everyone's yelling and shit, but he doesn't realize that he's past it like a good 4 or 5 feet.
Yep, he stepped past it.
Yep.
But eventually, like, he ends up, I think he must have heard some direction there, or he knew he passed it, and he walks back, and Jamie is just mindlessly just wandering around, way away from the...
Swinging away.
Yeah, no idea what he's doing, he's way far away. Wes ends up kicking it, and then once he gets a feel on it, he ends up kicking it down by the wall, and once he touches the wall, you know, you start feeling with your foot, and you find where the goal is, and he ends up knocking it in for the win.
Yep, he scores, and this is one of the greatest winning, you know, it's kind of like when Lesnar won, and he's like flipping everyone else off, and he's like, you know, UFC says I shouldn't drink Budweiser, but what the fuck? I don't remember.
What fight was that?
You never, it was like UFC 100 or some shit. Oh my god, whatever. But anyways, we're getting off track. Wes scores, and he just says, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool, fuck you, you're on the fence. And it was amazing. It was great. It was kind of, you know, half-baked satire. You ever watch Half-Baked?
Oh yeah.
He basically does the same, like, fuck you, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when
But
he
it was
walked
great.
out of his job, he was just like, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an awesome scene. I think it was in the trailer. And I liked it. And the thing is that, you know, the fact that he won was surprising to me. Because Wes has been on he's lost his last 3 eliminations. I was really shocked that he won. I felt that he was done in terms of eliminations.
This entire episode and that sequence was just nail biting to me. Like
Yeah.
it was probably, this was the most intense elimination I've seen this year. And it's, I mean, obviously it's because like Wes is I'm his biggest fan. Like he's the guy I'm rooting for the most. And I legit thought he was going to end up going home. Like the entire time I was like, oh, this is it. And I'm like, not only is he going home, but he's going home in a game of soccer, which is his strength. So he has no excuse but to win. So, like, when he won, I was just so relieved. I was like, oh my god, thank God.
That's the thing. I mean, like, I have nothing against Jamie and Kellyanne. I wanted them to win this season.
I love that team, too. Jamie's awesome. Kellyanne, she's hot and ditzy and kind of stupid and annoying.
Totally capable of winning.
But a good competitor, yeah.
And Wes and Nany, I like Wes, but I still have my doubts in Nany, you know. But the point is that he fucking won.
Yeah, with help from Nany. Because you're saying you don't really like Nany. Nany did score that goal on Kellyanne. So you gotta give her props for that.
Dude, that's true. Yeah,
gotta give her props.
Yeah.
And because of Wes, like that first round against Jamie, he lost to him. He managed to win that second one.
That's right. Yeah.
So
now,
basically, like, they cut to Wes and Nany afterwards. They're little one-on-one with the camera. And Nany, she basically says, like, I'm down with the politics. And, like, Wes is like, you know what? From here on out, when I talk in the house, I'm not talking about weather. I'm not talking about sports. She's like, I'm only talking about politics. He's like, it's the only thing I'm talking about when you hear me talk in this house is going to be politics.
Yeah.
Because, what was it, 2 or 3 episodes ago, Nany had a talk with him and said, hey, none of this politics, alright? I've had it, like, you have to stop talking about, oh, this guy's your number 1, this guy's your number 2. I've had it with that. And now, like I was saying, they're not the strongest team in missions.
No.
They don't do well.
No.
They need the politics. That's
Obviously,
their biggest strength.
Yeah,
that's their biggest strength. And they won this elimination, and now they need to use politics, and they need to just to use the numbers game to get other people. Because you know what? If they don't win a mission, if they have one of their friends win a mission, they can have them vote in the person they want. And that's what it's all about. You need to vote in Bananas or Vince. So if this next episode, it's going to be a great episode, because whoever gets voted in, like whoever wins it, this mission means a lot.
Yeah.
It means a lot, because there is a line in the sand.
After the fact, at the house, Bananas and Vince, all they have to do is complain.
They're just sitting there sulking. Just pity.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, they end up digging into Jamie and Kellyanne, which I thought was a low blow. They were like, yeah, they made it way further in this game than they should have. And I thought that was like, no, they're actually a really good team. Kellyanne's made it to finals before. Jamie has made it to finals and won. Then, like, right after that, they basically just kind of cut to Devin and Wes talking. It was Devin talking to Wes, and Devin
because
said,
Devin's the one that actually made an alliance with Bananas and Honey. But, you know, obviously that was disrupted when they were voted in against Wes and Nany, you know.
So I don't really feel like it's sabotage anymore, because sabotage, like, I don't feel like Wes... Or I don't feel like Bananas has any trust in Devin anymore, because he just sent him in. So he knows that Devin is not going to be on his side. So it's not really sabotage, but it's still going to be him like, hey, I'm going to take you out and I'm going to get revenge. It's more revenge.
Yeah. So basically, if we are to believe what Wes had to say, and we are to believe what the episode gave us, Wes throws the episode to look like, hey man, Bananas is going to have to give us 2 enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And producers, they give us, you know, Bananas and Sarah, and then the other 2 people, and that served to be a splitting of the house, you know?
Exactly, and that's I mean, finally, like it's episode 9 this season. It's like finally we have 2 alliances or 2 different sides, and like in most seasons, like this happens a lot sooner, where you have like people voting each other off or voting each other in based off of who's in their alliance and who's not. Mm-hmm. So every mission, it's like very crucial, and that's something that a lot of seasons, like the last couple, have been missing that. But like if you look in the past of the challenge, it's been very prevalent. And so I feel like from here on out, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very exciting because now it really matters who wins these missions.
Like, subscribe, share, fucking throw it out into the world. Say like, hey man, these guys like to talk about the challenge weekly.
Ish.
Although we are the closest, because like basically, if you listen to any other podcast or any other show that talks about the challenge, they'll talk about the current challenge, and then once that's over with, they'll stop. No, not us. We fucking start talking about seasons that happened way before, seasons that have never been covered by a podcast.
That's true, but our podcast is also different in the way that we don't just take whatever MTV feeds us and just say, oh, thank you, more please. We take it and we're like, yeah, that was probably not the right way to do it. You shouldn't have sent Tony and Camilla home. No. You shouldn't, in Battle of Axis 2, you shouldn't have had an exile island and have Bananas come back and then, but Wes loses, but he doesn't get a second chance to come back. Like, we feel free, and we don't have connections to MTV like other podcasts do. I won't mention names, but I digress.
Oh, comment, right? Yeah, comment. Although I never fucking respond at all.
But you will. You will change your ways.
Yeah, I'll try and change my ways. But this is Battle of the Challenges podcast. This is the weekly podcast. God damn it. This is Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud
and David Lauer.
Peace.